Hi, so a bit of a different one today. I've done something similar to this ages ago, it must be at least 6 months ago, where I looked at a British comics fanzine, what focused on British comics from the 60s, 70s, 80s, and earlier. Well, this time there's another one that I've got. This is like the sister title to it. It's much more in depth though, and initially it covered war comics, but it's now branched out into basically action comics as well. And this is Battling Britons. This is on a print to demand service via Amazon and other places, I think. Um, the each issue varies in price and thickness. This one cost me £6.99, but there's over 150 pages. It's perfect bound, nice colour cover. On the cover, it's featuring Dredger, who's been featured in the resurrected battle action series from Rebellion slash 2000 AD. Very, very balls to the wall. British Secret Service, secret spy. So this one, like I said, normally they focus on like war comics predominantly, but this one focuses on spy thrillers as well in comics, spy stories. So that's the spine. I love this. Had done like a mock-up um, fact sheet on Dredger, and this also gives you a clue what else is in. So they're also looking at horror comics from Kevin O'Neill, action comics, spy comics from the Picture Library, a comic that a few people on a few of my Fred friends, that's TH, by the way, I've got a list, um, kind of highlights when they're looking at classic British comics from the 70s and 60s, etc., is Bullets. And they're looking at Bullets as well and various others. So I'm very, very impressed. I'm definitely going to be buying the other issues. This is volume 2, issue 5. They're up to volume 2, issue 7 at the moment. I got this one because it had Dredger in, and he's a personal favourite of mine. And so I just wanted to try it, see how that goes. So there's an intro from the editor. Really, really professional. I say fanzine, but this is a fanzine of an elevated style. It's up there with Tomorrow's Publishing for quality, and it's in a much more handy book size. I do think some of the early ones and maybe some of the others, what I like with this series, the experiment with the formats. So sometimes you can get this size. Sometimes they're doing like the classic summer specials, what you used to get as a kid, where they're like more magazine size. So there's a lot of articles. Um, so there's they do a big feature on Kevin O'Neill. Another thing that made me buy this one, they do a look at sorry about my voice, by the way. I'm really snotty today. Some bloody medication I'm on. They do a big in-depth review of a character from Battle called the Eagle, which was like a really brilliant Second World War spy thriller with almost slight hints of like um, more like spy-fi in a way. So it's got slightly fantastical elements, but it is very, very grounded. I hope they do a collection of that I hope Rebellion do a collection of that character. And they do a big in-depth one on Dredger. He's the main character. So first few pages are basically all the news. You get a lot of text for your money as well. They also focus on some of the conventions that there's been, some of the British comic conventions. That one, they have a chat with Dave Gibbons. There's a Commando convention, which is like the longest running British comic apart from the Beano. Then they look at some Japanese war comics. And they have a look at a particular artist from the 70s who did a lot of work for battle action, etc. One of his most popular strips was Hellman, Jim O'Brien, who was a really popular inker. And this character, what I was on about, what they're going to do a feature on later on in the magazine, the Eagle, just superb. And then the big focus on aerial combat comics. And then what is good, they have an interview with Rob Williams, who's done loads of fantastic Judge Dredd strips, etc. in 2000 AD, quite a bit of stuff for DC as well. So they have a chat with him about the Battle Action series. This was the previous Battle Action series, which I've got in hardback, what you can watch one of my videos about. But now there's like a new 10-issue series, what I'm up to about issue 6 or 7, I think. Because this is from about a year and a bit ago, this magazine, because there's been 2 more after it. So they're discussing with his interview with Rob Williams, what's good is he's discussing all the different characters from Battle Action, from the classic Battle Action. Then to do a feature on basically dirty rats and backstabbers in pocketbooks, it says. So the rogues basically of battle of army strips and force strips. Another feature on Jim O'Brien about what he's doing now. One focus on this is they've got so many articles. This is focusing on the Irish War of Independence as it's featured in comics. Never knew there was any comics about that. And then they go on to the main topic of this issue's focus, which is spies in comics. So they did some in the 60s called Thriller Picture Library, Spy 13, which looked really cool. And if it's by IPC, hopefully Rebellion might repackage these. As you know from a lot of my videos, I've got a huge passion for comic history, especially British comic history, because it's always slightly more weird and interesting than American one, because it wasn't as dependent on superheroes, which I do get jaded with. Johnny Nero, he looks really cool. And here we go. This is the big article on Dredger. I do recommend you picking up the Battle Action hardbacks, because he's featured in that, and and it's written by Garth Ennis, and it's so fun. It really is. With great art by, I forgot his name, the colorist of Watchmen. I forgot what his name is, who's a brilliant artist by himself. And Dredger appeared in action. He was very, very no nonsense. He asked questions. He kind of spoke with his fist more than with his mouth a lot of the time. I don't know why people were concerned that we were corrupting the youth in the 70s. He basically made the Punisher look like a lightweight, as you can see here. This was in a weekly kids comic. He's thrown some discs and it's gone into this guy's throat. Here he shoots somebody all the way through the chest loads of times. So that's highlighting some of the more standout stories from his. He had quite a lengthy run of different comics. I hope Rebellion are going to do a collection of them, because they were so good. Now this one will be of interest most likely to people like Geeky Old Hog. This is focusing on DC Thompson's secret agents, and they also, which might have featured in comics like Warlord, etc. And what's the other one? Hotspur and Victor. Really nice art as well. This one is the strip I'm most excited for. This is the article that I really am going to do a deep dive on. This is about Mike Nelson, aka the Eagle, who was a Second World War spy. He was kind of like James Bond before James Bond was James Bond. The arts in this series from the 70s was just amazing as well. But it's criminal how it's not been collected. I would pay good money for a nice hardback collection of his strips, because the art is to die for, and the storytelling was so strong. Quite an in-depth. There's over easily about nearly 20 pages, if not more. And then this is the one that will have Geeky Old Hog and a few of us really excited. They do a big deep dive on one of Geeky Old Hog's favourite comics from the 70s, by DC Thompson, Bullet, which was like the action comic sister title. This was the action comic that ran parallel to Warlord. As you could tell, very much from the 70s. Oh, flares and big tashes were all the rage. And again, a very, very in-depth comic. In Britain, we had two comic companies. There was IPC and DC Thompson. They were very much like the Marvel and DC of British comics. DC Thompson always came across a bit more safe in a way. Pardon me. And IPC did 2000 AD battle action, etc. They always seemed to run a bit more footloose and fantasy free, and took a few more risks. But they were both solid companies. And what is good about this now, Commando Comics are now doing like collections of a lot of the more interesting Warlord characters, and they've started to bring them back in the Commando Comics as well. So that's quite an in-depth one. And a bit of a deeper look at Warlord from the editor of Warlord and Bullet. So like I say, there's a ton of articles, and it's not just text heavy. There's a lot of, it's got a good balance of text and illustration. This is a bizarre article. This is one about the role of bagpipes in British war comics. I never knew that was a subgenre, but there we go. There's a lot. It's managed to cover a lot of pages. I do love how they've got so much illustration in it, showing the strips. This is interesting. This is some of Kevin O'Neill's earliest work, from before even, I think, he did work on 2000 AD, because his art style is very, very different here. This is a series he did called Horror Classics, only 25p. So he's always been into the grotesque, and you can see shades of the Kevin O'Neill what we grew to love, but it's very, very different to his style what became known for. This here is more similar to what he did later on in 2000 AD with Nemesis. So again, nice big article focusing on the legend that is and was Kevin O'Neill. Some really nice rare strips. That's a quirky one. I don't know what that's about. I think that's about a child's novel about being paranoid about Germans invading again. I can vaguely remember this comic, Fury, with Collister Square didn't cover that. I'm going to have to do a deep dive on Wikipedia about that. Well, I'll read it in here. Who needs Wikipedia when you've got all this text here? And then this is another one that's intrigued me. There's a magazine called Bold Adventure from Pacific Comics called Bold Adventure. And there's a strip in it called Soldiers of Fortune with one of my favourite artists, Alex Nino. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then just a few bits of reviews on different stories from classic strips where you can hunt down on eBay, etc. So yep, highly recommended. Really good value. This one was £6.99. Some are £5, some are £5.99, and so on. They come in different sizes and formats. Just type in Battling Britons on Amazon, so they'll ship to anywhere. In the print on demand, and it's one of the best. I enjoyed the other one, CKOK, but this is even better. This is really in depth. I'm going to be diving into this afternoon and just reading through. So I'll be doing hopefully some more videos later on this weekend, and going to visit my comic shop. Looks like I have tomorrow or Saturday. Okay, bye.